it's really hard for a lot of the girl them, you know what I mean? All of the people who are on the forefront, you know, the women and the non-binary people, but because Canada is kind of behind the line as far as the Canadian music industry, it puts people who are marginalized or put off into a box. It puts us that much further behind.
Hi, my name is Sydanie. I'm from Toronto, Ontario. I'm an alternative rapper, and you're watching my session with Off the Record. So let's start the diggings. Ooh, Temptations. I was gonna say something with Temptations, but it wasn't actually from the Temptations. All right, so what inspired me to write that soft? What inspired me to write that soft? Well, the song is a very gritty delivery of me talking basically about, the cyclic, ways of like relationships and friendships, to be specific. Where I come from, and I'm sure for a lot of people, it's very integral to like who I am. It's a very deep part of my identity to hold it down for my people, so to speak. And this song just talks about ways that I felt like I wasn't being held down. And the song just talks about ways that I felt like I wasn't being held down by the people I was doing it for. Yes, you're sometimes referred to as a supernatural rapper mom. Explain. Well, when I first came up with that supernatural rapper mom catchphrase, I was in like a phase of like finding myself as far as just thinking I was like this super spiritual gung-ho like shorty, and it really was not that. And I kind of held on to the supernatural rapper mom thing because everything about me is super real, supernatural, super in and of the element. So that's where supernatural rapper mom came from. Continuing with my digging. I love Donna Summers. Oh my gosh. Sydanie Summers. Yes, that's me. I am her and she's me. Okay. What do you think is stopping Canada's music scene from flourishing? Ooh, child. Something that I think that's stopping Canada's music scene from flourishing, honestly, I feel like the Canadian industry and Canada in general is still fairly conservative. We're seen in Toronto, we're seen as like a, multicultural, just a beautiful place as far as many different types of cultures existing. But on the flip side of that, I feel like Canada is still very hesitant in terms of allowing things that exist outside of, the spectrum of what's considered to be normal to really flourish and grow. So I feel like that's one of the main things that's holding the Canadian music industry back. What's next for me? Honestly, I don't know. It's a panorama. I'm joking. I've been working on Eclectic Circus, a project that has been pending for quite some time. I've actually started working out of a new studio, Easy Life Studio, shout out to that space. Working on getting some real solid stuff in the ground. So distribution, all the cute stuff that make people pay attention to the things, So I've been working on Eclectic Circus for quite some time, as I said before, but now I finally have like the support that I need in order to push it. So don't know when exactly it's gonna be dropping, but it's definitely coming, and it's gonna come harder than it would have if I had done it on my own. Diana Ross Mahogany. Oof! I'm a hot girl like Diana Ross. What? My little sweat stash. Anyway, do you find that women are treated differently in Canada's rap scene? 100%. I feel like, as I was saying before, what's wrong with the Canadian industry, or what could do better, what could be improved as far as the Canadian music industry is just the lack of space for things that are considered to be different. And it's hard enough to be a woman making music, making any genre of music,
And as far as the rap scene in Canada, you know, as much as things have been going far and things have been accelerating, shout out to everybody who's at the front of the rap scene right now. Pressa, Smiley, all of the young boys who are doing it. You know, it's really hard for a lot of the gal them, you know what I mean? Like shout out to Havaya Mighty, shout out to Deja SB, shout out to, you know, Goldie London, all of the people who are on the forefront, you know, the women and the non-binary people. But because Canada is kind of behind the line as far as the Canadian music industry, it puts people who are marginalized or put off into a box. It puts us that much further behind. So do I feel like, you know, yeah, we're kind of, the gal them are kind of lagging in the rap scene still. Who do I look up to as an artistic role model? This is such an interesting question because, you know, on my cocky days, I tell myself, nobody. I don't look up to nobody. No, but I think if there's anybody that I look up to, you know, people throw their shade here and there at this person, but I am a diehard fan. I love Azalea Banks. I love me some Azalea Banks. You know, we all have our problematic phase, and that is mine. Yeah, Azalea is like one of my biggest influences as far as just being a bars heavy, pen heavy, house music extraordinaire, you know. And you know, the fact that she's a dark-skinned woman, you know what I mean? How she's navigated just different aspects of her identity over the course of the last 10 years. And just being unapologetic in terms of how like she presses her foot on people's necks. Like she's one of my biggest influences. And funny enough, like we had one of his records, but Kendrick Lamar, like I always say to myself, you know, if I had like a rap mom and a rap dad, they would be like an awkward pairing, but it would be Azalea and Kendrick, you know. Hopefully, you know, my dad would come and pick me up on the weekends if that was the situation. But yeah, like Kendrick and Azalea are definitely two of like my biggest influences, just as far as, you know, again, staying bars heavy and like being interesting. It's really important for me to, you know, be cutting edge, doing something different. And like, as much as Kendrick is considered to be like, you know, MC, all of the things that are like, all of the things that revolve around what makes a great rapper, a great MC, a classic MC, he's still like very new, very fresh, very different. So yeah, those are like my two biggest influences. This Shaft. Can you dig it? Okay, as a Black woman, part of the LGBTQ community, how has music allowed you to explore these different intersections of your identity? Well, music is kind of what helped me to understand my like sexual identity. I first came out, I was one of the first people in my high school, I thought it was somebody. I was one of the first people in my high school to come out and as bisexual, and like navigating that identity in my like late teen years was really challenging for me, especially once I had a child. I feel like I come from a lot of opposing backgrounds and environments that just made centering myself in my identity really difficult for me. And being a rapper has just given me the space to explore that. Even something as simple as like how I wear my hair, you know, for a long time, you know, seems like it's coming off topic, but like for a long time, like, you know, I was very strict about like only wearing natural hair, afros, braids, you know, gotta do the whole, you know, and it was through my queerness that I was able to understand and critique what is considered Black culture, what is considered okay as far as, you know, the gaze of whom is like taking in my content, and what does the way I present myself say in combination with everything else that I'm saying. It's not a crime for me to package myself or carry myself in a way that's different to what other people are used to, and it was my queerness that made that okay. I'm not any less of, you know, a freedom fighter, a Black feminist. I'm not any less of who I am because of how I present myself. And if it wasn't for my queer identity, I don't think I would feel comfortable with any of that. And do you feel like people want to pigeonhole you as an artist because of your identity? Honestly, I don't think so. Well, in some ways, yes, but not necessarily because of my queerness. I think I've done a really good job at like defining my space and defining who I am. I think a lot of lateral conflict can happen within the community. So, you know, for reasons outside of myself, I might not necessarily have the type of solidarity or communion that I might want within the queer community with other Black folks, with other, you know, women identified folks, whomever. But I don't necessarily think I'm being pigeonholed based on that. I think on a grander scale, definitely just being a general Black artist from Jane and Finch versus, you know, a Black artist from the downtown core, or being queer outside of the downtown space. I think that's kind of difficult. I feel like I might be pigeonholed in certain ways like that because most of the queer community in Toronto is all situated downtown. Everything that happens for queer people, everything that's cool is downtown. And if you're not a downtown queer, then it's easy for you to kind of get drowned out from that. So I think I get pigeonholed on the flip side. If that makes sense, you know? So let's see what we got left for in the crate. All right. Okay, so throughout the years, we've noticed you've been involved in the moca project. Can you tell us what that initiative is and why it's important to you? So the moca project stands for Mothers Organized in Community Healing Arts. It is a grassroots organization that I started back in 2016. And yeah, it's exactly as the name says, it's a space that I curated, being a mother myself, a safe space for other young moms to engage in creative activity, usually in things that are geared towards their children, but also, you know, just things that are like therapeutic for ourselves. Yeah, it's a very important project to me. I don't necessarily have all the hands that I would like to have to juggle it, being again that I'm a mom, I'm a rapper, you know, but yeah, it's a project that's really near and dear to my heart. And with all of the resources that I'm able to gather around it, I just use the platform and the spaces to uplift other young moms like myself. So again, my name is Sydanie. I am a rapper from Toronto, Ontario. You can find all my music on all streaming platforms. That's SYDANIE on Instagram, Twitter, everything, all over the interwebs. Thanks for watching my session with Off the Record.